Shalom to you all saints, and I do welcome you to this broadcast. Because it's the evening, the sun is down, I can certainly say to you that this is the day that Yahweh has made, and we shall rejoice and be glad in it. Why? Because it is the day that He has made. And on every circumstance, we are expected to have joy within us. Yahweh is faithful. I bid you shalom. I bid you all shalom. Blessings be multiplied to you. Shalom speaks of that peace that Yahweh gives, that assurance that we have as saints of His, that it's always well. It is well. His mercies endure forever. His truth to all generations. The truth of the God of the Hebrew people never, ever wanes. It never fades away. It never disappears. His truth endures to all generations. Yahweh is faithful. As you join this broadcast, please indicate to me whether you hear me clearly, you see me clearly. For this message, this proclamation, this apostolic rebuke is vital to all who have ears to hear. Shalom. We have the assurance that it's always well. It doesn't matter what you face. It doesn't matter what you are enduring. It is always well for the saints of Yahweh. Thank you for the feedback. I'm seeing that I have the all clear. Where is the sorrow? Please, if you don't mind, invite someone who you know normally is here with us, who shares in fellowship with us. Let them know we're here, and that this is very, very critical. I bid you shalom, saints. I bid you all shalom. It is well. The saints of Yahweh are assured of His blessings, of His protection, of His reassurance. It is well. While you're here, it is quite interesting for me to announce to you, and also quite humbling, to know that I've been selected, nominated, chosen to be the prime ministerial candidate for the Forward Guyana movement. Now, it's not by design that you see this purple behind me, right? I just came into studio. I don't know who, I guess my wife decided, or somebody decided to put the purple backdrop here, royal purple. So it's here. But I've been chosen to be the prime ministerial candidate along with my sister, Amanzo Walton Desir. I think for the first time in quite a while, we have two Lindeners, okay? And then Darwin Bess, a brother, is the chairman of our group. So I just want you to know that, as saints, what is interesting is that I may be the only prime ministerial candidate who is preaching, who's an apostle of Yeshua. So that's interesting too. However, I would like to assure you or inform you who are saints to be guided by a truth, very important truth. And that is that I've shared with you that my preaching the gospel of Yeshua, serving the saints of Yeshua, is of utmost importance. It is priority to me. Shalom, Apostle Josh. This that I'm doing in reference to the work in Forward Guyana movement, and should we be elected to serve the country, I call it not lead, but serve. It will be my job. Just as some of you work in a bank, or you work in a school, you work in your private business, that's what it is. It's not a promotion to me, because there's no higher rank than you can attain than that of a saint who is called to be an apostle of Yeshua, to represent the kingdom of Yahweh. So there's no promotion on my side. It would be my public duty, my public service to those of you in my nation. Let's just be clear on that. Those of you who are called public servants, a prime minister is a public servant. A president is a public servant of this country. all who serve in what is called a constitutional office are called public servants. So I'm no different from a teacher. I'm no different from one who is even a janitor in a school who's a public servant. That's how I see myself. It's not a lofty position. It's one of service. Please, let's understand that. For my sake, let's understand that. I am or would be nothing more than a public servant. Not a lord, not a demigod, not some ruler who's entitled to so much more than my fellow brothers and sisters in this nation, even my enemies and my friends. No. So the notion that an apostle of Yeshua should not be involved in politics doesn't make any sense, because you are involved in politics for as long as you work. And if you don't work, you're still involved in politics, because what happens to you is that the decisions made affect you. So this is interesting, where you have an apostle of Yeshua HaMashiach in Guyana, South America, chosen to be a prime ministerial candidate. Would I compromise the righteous standard of the kingdom of heaven? No, under no circumstance. Does that mean that Guyana has to be led by the righteous standard of the kingdom of heaven? No. What does that mean? Because Yahweh rules over all nations. Whether you're heathen, you're wicked, you're righteous, he still rules over you. So you don't have to present some new rule to this country. He rules in the affairs of men. That's what the scripture records. So Guyana would not become a Christian nation because you may have a Christian prime minister. I'm not Christian. Hear me clearly, please. Get this clearly. Yahweh has never called me a Christian. The term Christian, and this is why I believe my responsibility is to educate people. The term Christian was a derogatory term used, but it wasn't even an English word. It was used at Antioch to disrespect people who followed Yeshua. It was not a term of endearment or respect or value. We called saints of the Most High Yahweh. We called chosen ones. We called his seed. We called heirs and joint heirs of Yeshua the Messiah. We have never been called Christian by our Father in heaven. And I would like to know or suggest to you that whatever my Father calls me is what I'm prepared to live by. Whatever Errol London on the earth, my biological father, calls me, that's what I function as. Nobody call me anything else and I respond to you. Whatever my daddy calls me, that's what I respect and value. And he has never called me a Christian. So I do not present myself as that. Nonetheless, we need to speak to righteousness. That text. Righteousness exalts a nation. What does it mean? But sin is a shame to any people. What does that mean? And tonight, as an apostle of the Lord Yeshua, I'm speaking to, thank you, son, and to my sons, I must also say to you, saints, that another apostle, Joshua Bassoon, is a national candidate, what's called a geographic candidate in these elections. Yahweh is up to something, and I'll explain to you tonight. There's saints who are standing here as well. And some of you may suggest, because I believe it means straightforward and straight, I don't know how to cut corners when it comes to truth. There's some people who are saying, well, if you preach Yeshua, how can you work with people who say Jesus? That's what you miss again, because this is not church. This is not the church. In the same manner that if you work in the bank, you have to serve somebody regardless of what they believe in. That's how it functions here. This is not a competition of belief. This is service to your country, and more so seeking to stand as a person who has a righteous position. Therefore, the scripture becomes relevant. It becomes quite relevant that your light should shine before men, that they may see your good work and glorify your Father who's in heaven. As I interact with people, as I interact with those even on in the Forward Guyana movement, they could see, hopefully, light actually I call him my dear little friend, said that the other day, and it was quite humbling, that there's light. And when your heart is pure, when you don't have disingenuous intentions, when you're not wicked, as a saint you carry light wherever you go. That's our job. No, we're not on YouTube yet, Marcia. I have to upload. I try to be here with you saying when I'm doing this on Facebook, and then I upload to YouTube. So because if I'm streaming on both platforms, then I have to do more monitoring than I want to. The Muslims who are with us in Forward Guyana movement, they're atheists who are with us in Forward Guyana movement, which is why you won't find us starting every session. You have to pray the Christian prayer. It is disrespectful and it's actually discriminatory. We are public servants seeking to serve you. We're not trying to raise a band of choir members. This is not a show, this is service. This is not theater, this is service. When I pray in my closet, then I leave my home and I go out into the public, they're supposed to know that here comes a righteous man. Here is somebody who stands for what is right. Here's someone who will not compromise the truth. Here's someone who upholds righteousness. That's what they're supposed to know about righteous people. Righteousness, says this text, righteousness exalts a nation. Righteousness exalts a nation, but sin is a shame to any people. Yahweh is so faithful. Yahweh is faithful. So are we ready? I trust that you are. When the scripture speaks to this, why did Yahweh speak to righteousness? Righteousness speaks to justice. It speaks to following the rule of law. Let's begin with that. Justice. There's so much injustice in our country. And when there was injustice in Israel, Yahweh had to present it to them that when you are just, your nation is exalted. I would that saints hear what I've just said to you. When there is justice in a land, that land in itself is exalted. An unjust nation is never one to rise up. Never. You will never grow. Justice in itself is a prerequisite for a nation rising to any form of greatness. A nation with unjust leaders cannot experience justice. Any nation that is led by people who are unjust will not experience being exalted. What they will experience would be maybe economic growth, but never exaltation. You see, the problem is when you begin to measure success in a nation by economics, by what you observe around you, and not by morality. Now, I get some of y'all mad tonight, and I may make the news tomorrow, too bad. But don't be nervous, because I tell the truth at all cost. Growth in your nation is not about how much money the nation is making. And I never said Christianity. I never said how many souls are saved. I said by morality. When you commit unrighteous acts in a nation, when your actions, and we'll talk about this rape situation as well, that occurred in a public bar. Some of y'all in the US might be shocked. And I'm not going to be quiet about this. There is no prime ministerial position, whatever you want to call it, that will make me go silent in the face of wickedness. I'd rather not function in a country in reference to that capacity than to go there and switch off, turn off the switch of righteousness. We cannot have a nation that's led by wicked people and expect righteous responses from the population. If your nation is led by wicked men and women, don't expect righteous outcomes in society. The quality of leader you choose has a lot to do with the quality of life you will live. The quality of leader that you choose to inspire or to be inspired by and to follow will determine the quality of life that you will live. If you choose to honor people who are wicked, then at some point wickedness shall visit your doorstep. Wickedness shall visit your community. Wickedness shall visit your nation. You will have, if possible, a preaching prime minister, because I don't think I go quiet. No. We will have times of fellowship just as we do. And they'll be preaching of righteousness just as we do. Righteousness, which is justice, will exalt your nation. This nation and other nations of the world are experiencing an intensification of injustice. Be it in the USA, Guyana, or wherever it is. Injustice seems to be the order of the man of today's life. Righteousness, justice will exalt your land. Which is why you find that we cry and we shout so much for justice. Because people understand the value of justice to a nation's well-being. The wicked don't understand that. The wicked do not value justice. The wicked value what they can gain from an unjust society. The wicked do not value justice. They value what they can gain from functioning within an unjust society. And it's just a matter of time before this behavior finds its way into just about every fabric of your society. Wicked people enjoy injustice. They benefit from what's unjust. And then they celebrate the results they have from functioning in an unjust system. Shalom to all of you joining. I need to speak tonight. And those of you in the US and other countries, forgive me, but there's a matter in this country here that requires the voice of righteousness. No, I'm not going quiet. Y'all forgive me if in the US and Bahamas, wherever you are, but I need to talk about this here, please. Have mercy on me, but I cannot go quiet. I cannot be silent and not address this matter. I read in the news, and I tell you why this affects me so much. I read in the news, somewhere in social media it popped up, that a young lady, a native of this country, was in a bar. And I read about a sexual assault. I said, okay, now, probably she was taken to some bathroom somewhere and she was raped. Or maybe taken around the corner somewhere and she was raped. That's what I thought. Because I couldn't wrap my mind around what I discovered afterwards. I thought that this native girl may have come out from somewhere and she's on the coastland. Maybe a young man took her to some secluded area and raped her by some part of the bar. Ladies, saints, I was horrified when it came to my attention. Preachers in this country, you all need to do better. I don't understand what it would take for you to talk. What else has to, this, please, what else do you need to see in this country that will cause you to open your mouth and cry aloud against what you're seeing? I could not believe it when it was brought to my attention that within the bar, within the club, within the bar, within the area where patrons are drinking and eating, inside, where someone was on a microphone, a DJ, inside, it was brought to my attention that the DJ was instructing the young man about what to do to the young lady. Take off her clothes. Pull down her panties. I'm playing with y'all tonight. Take it off. Put this in. Wine. This happened in our country. Where young people, according to the report, stood there on their phones. Because in order for there to be a video content, the news circulating, there had to be somebody recording it. So somebody in the club seeing a young female being stripped naked, seeing a young man taking his clothes off, forcing her onto a table, and penetrating her. The DJ was okay. A young man on a microphone was okay with telling another young man what to do. Some club at Soesdijk. What is wrong with this country? I'll tell you what. Because I warned y'all. I warned you, since with Adriana's situation, I said to you that once people perceive that you can do wrong and get away with it, they will think that this is something that they can also get away with. So the average Guyanese now may believe that they are free to do whatever they want and make a few phone calls and it's okay. Because nothing major comes out of it. Can you imagine that a young lady was raped in public and the church didn't talk? The club was still open. The DJ isn't arrested, as far as I'm aware. The owners are not arrested. Those who were on video cameras were not arrested. But in this country, when persons were reacting for justice and were crying for justice for young Adriana, who was murdered and put in a pool, the police say we have video footage. We have CCTV footage of you burning a tire. Come here, you're a terrorist. We have footage of you burning something else on the road. You're a terrorist. So they could use CCTV footage to call people terrorists for standing for justice. But they can't use the video to show all who were in the club and the DJ on the microphone to get justice for this girl. Righteousness exalts your nation. Justice exalts your nation. When you could get so low as a people, do you know what is even worse? 1, 2, 3 buildings away, 3 buildings away, I think it would have been, is a church. So there's another 4 or 5 buildings is another church. There is no sense of saying, man, at least we got some churches around here. Let's see how we can behave. Let's see how we conduct ourselves. Let's see if we can control ourselves. No! Because when the door of those buildings close, the voice of the preachers are also shut off. When the doors of those buildings are closed, the voices of the preachers are shut off. They don't speak anymore. You don't hear them talking anymore. So communities are left to believe that they could function whenever they want to. Let me present you some statistics from this country. In Guyana, South America, 55% of this population is tagged or identifies themselves as Christian. So 55% is more than half. Can you understand the fact that if more than half of your population identify as Christian, then there should be a greater influence on morality from the Christian perspective than any other religion, because you're 55% of the population. I warn this nation about the plight of preachers who refuse to stand publicly. I warn you about the plight of any religious grouping who refuse to stand publicly and condemn immorality. When you are led by lawless men, lawless women, women who believe that having a position in government is more important than having a position in the sphere of humanity, your nation is in trouble. When men can refuse to value a female, when men around couldn't say, stop, do not do this, beat him in his head with something if you have to. No, they were being entertained by rape. They were being entertained by public rape. Instead of the president of this country, who's paid to be one, raining down on that place, raining terror on that place, commanding that the doors be shut and everybody who was in there be brought to the court or the police station to be charged for condoning and endorsing this vile, wicked behavior. He has more interest in campaigning. Righteousness, which is justice, exalts a nation. In the absence of justice, your nation shall plummet. It will plummet to a point whereby morality, which happens to be what society determines as acceptable. That's morality. Morality is not a personal decision. Morals are determined by society. A wicked nation has morals determined by an individual, which is a satanic and a very evil posture to take, where instead of society determining how we ought to function, that's called norms, morals, values, even your laws are framed based on societal standards. If not, then the prison would overflow with citizens. I hope you understand that and get the wisdom of it. Laws are never made, essentially. Penal codes are not established to punish the whole nation. Lest you have to build jails instead of housing schemes, build more prisons instead of housing communities. How does the church, how can the leaders of the church not wail, not grieve, not shout, not holler, cringe at the thought of a country plummeting so low that public rape is entertainment? And it's not just that the person was being raped. It is where people were celebrating this rape and encouraging, goading on the person. Do this, go ahead. More alarming was the fact, or is the fact, that yet again we await the sound from what they call the church. We cannot be okay with anyone who is quiet when a young woman is being raped publicly in an environment, not even in a big playground, in a closed environment, where the DJ is observing, according to what came to my attention, and is saying to the person what he should and shouldn't do, coaching on a rape on a microphone, not in his ears. So the whole club would have been informed about what's happening. Those in attendance. Our nation is in peril. Righteousness, justice will exalt you. Following what is right in terms of your actions will exalt you. What does that mean? If the patrons in that bar were seeing this behavior, and somebody went and collared, as you call it, grabbed this young man and suck it to him, that would have been a just act. That's what justice looks like. Justice resembles or has a face that says that whenever I see injustice, I shall react not in a manner that supports it. Justice demands that your actions reject what is unjust. Justice demands that when you hear of injustice, there's an impact on your mind that says, this is unacceptable. So somebody would have been calling another person and say, come, let's see, come. There's the boy about to report the table. When you hear that, if you're a just person, your response would have been to stop that action from happening. But we have youths who were celebrating and encouraging this behavior. Then you wonder why they are being wiped out so rapidly on our roadways and other places. You cannot support wickedness and expect to have a healthy life. Be warned, you young people. Be warned. If you endorse that level of wickedness, your life will be required of you by the divine being. Yahweh doesn't play with this. Yahweh would never have such depth of wickedness in a nation, any nation, where you can celebrate someone being raped publicly. And you think that the justice of heaven will not find you. I shudder to believe, I shudder to think that those patrons in that bar, when the rape was over, would have been celebrating still and laughing about it and having it in their phones or devices to see that, listen, here, right here, look what he's doing to her. Boy, look at her, boy. This is disgusting. And if you believe that in order to have you vote, as you say, for me, I would be quiet and not warn you of a disaster? Wrong person. This is not going to be a nation where I would be okay with being quiet because, oh, if I talk like this, you wouldn't vote for us. Let me leave the political scene then, because I cannot function in it, whereby I could know that a young female, one of our natives or First People, would have been raped publicly, and I should not talk because it won't offend anybody. You should be offended when you're wicked. The light and the life of a nation would be the saints of Yahweh. The safety of a nation lies in justice, not wickedness. The police did not show up and shut the whole bar down, because I can tell you why. We know why. The police did not run in there as they would when people were burning tires and they were demanding justice for Adriana Young. No, there's no need to do that. It may be a good thing to consider, as I would, public flogging for those actions. If you want to rape people's child publicly, I would beat you myself publicly. This is not Prime Minister, this is a father talking to you. If you believe that you could rape people's child publicly, there needs to be a cat of nine tails on your back publicly. So you won't continue this. And don't tell me that that's inhumane, because raping somebody can be humane. Do not tell me that it's inhumane to suggest public flogging when it's okay to rape people publicly. We have to restore order. But when people realize, when young men and women realize that those who are most wicked and unjust are lauded, are exalted in our society, that's how they see it. In their minds, the more wicked you are, the worse things you can do, and you get off, hey, there's a bad man. Sorry, U.S. citizens, that's how they talk. That's a bad man. The man is, hey, the guy could do anything and get away with it. In their mind, let me translate for the U.S. citizens now, British and others, they're of the view that when you do bad things or wicked things, evil things, unjust things, unlawful things, and you are able to just walk away, you are respected because you have some connection. That's how they begin to reason. So what people try to do is to have connections in the nation rather than justice in it. Persons are more interested in who they are connected to rather than what they're standing for. You need to type that. Persons in this country are more interested in who they're connected to rather than what they are standing for. That has to be fixed. Who you know should never be more important than what you stand for. It doesn't matter what office I attain. If I attain any, I would never be okay with a man raping a woman. Much more if you hit a woman, not. I cannot be okay with any form of abuse. I cannot be okay with any form of abuse. Don't tell me, do not tell me that somebody could be okay with announcing on a microphone that you should rape somebody and he must be beaten publicly. He must be flogged with a cat of nine tails by law, ordered by the court to beat him publicly. I can promise you all in Guyana that if that happens once, there'll never be another public rape. If you beat them once with a cat of nine tails at a public square, they'll never rape another woman. Never will they do it. Oh, people say you wash your hands. They will never do it. Never will they do it again. Who shall stand for our women? If human rights seek to protect the right of a criminal, then human rights has failed the victim. Don't tell me that you are more interested in how a criminal is treated than how the criminal treated the victim. Beat them with the cat of nine tails, restore that, bring that, re-implement that law to deal with situations of this nature. Because I cannot accept, I will not accept that a man who could be so depraved to rape a young lady in the public, and a DJ and others who could be so encouraged and entertained by that act should just walk away scot-free. Further, I came on a little later than we should be agreed to, because I went to visit a family today. A family who I didn't, until I saw the video earlier, said to myself, I know this man. I know that, because I realized it's a client of mine, a customer. He purchased a stand from me on many occasions, purchased a stand on quite a few occasions. And a father, mother, holding, his wife was holding a 3-month-old baby, left behind. This baby left behind because a young man in our society saw it fit to walk up to the mother of his 3-month-old son, 3 months old son, and shoot her in her head on more than one occasion. Right here in London. That is bad enough. But what is worse is that there is a ruling from the court of law that this young man should not have any contact with this young lady. It's called a restraining order. He violated the same on numerous occasions. And according to the report from the family, when they went to the police said, why don't you throw some piss on the young man? Or throw water on him. Now the reports indicate, they said, well, with her shape and her size, we would want to leave her. One of the most painful things I heard in that interaction, and I promised the family I'd talk about this publicly, is when the young lady would have said to her mom that she shouldn't go to the police, because when you go to the policeman, you become a victim. They don't help you. She was proven to be right. Righteousness, justice exalts a nation. If you violate a court order where there's a restraint issued, an order of restraint, you can be sentenced immediately to months in jail. Instead of sentencing him, the police left him because they never have a counter report vehicles. Remember when that young lady, that little girl, 8 years old or 7 years old, was molested by a 52-year-old man when I went to find him with my brother and other people? Same thing. They don't have vehicles to go to search for anybody. But I see multiple vehicles in my community with Guyana Police Force emblem on it. So I don't, the insignia. Tell me, what are those vehicles for? The number of times I see police passing in many vehicles, I don't know, when it comes to seeking a perpetrator of a crime, it becomes so difficult. Even worse, and more painful to me, as one who stood amongst others there who went to visit. Amanza Walton was there, Darwin Best was there, And so the three of us stood there as three principals, not a Ford Guyana movement to put on some political thing. No. We went there as three people who, because this is my customer. So I was dressed in, we had an event in Wisma, but I had to go. Because these are my customers here. We have a business relationship. The father is such an understanding man. So the times he may call me, I don't do it on purpose, but the loaders did and stuff, and he could say, I understand, all right, when you're ready, brother, it's okay. No problem. One of the nicest men I know. Cool guy. And what is more painful to me is when this father said that when he sought to protect his daughter before from the same young man, the magistrate, he had to end up in court, told him, do not do the police work. You don't take the law into your hands and hit this boy. Let the police deal with the matter. Can you imagine that when a father tried to protect his child, the court, it's right for them to say that. Advise them, don't do this, because if you come back here for hitting this boy, you'll go to jail. He said from there on, he went to the police, since the magistrate said, let the police do the job. And say the man continues to harass my child. He continues to stalk her at the school, right around my corner here. Just down the road from where I live. He continues to stalk the girl. He continues to terrorize the girl. And whenever he goes, the police are making a mockery. Wasting time. And today, the father who obeyed the law has lost his child to a murderer who, when he disobeyed the law didn't go for him. Righteousness exalts a nation. Justice exalts a nation. Now, if I hear that, and this is a prime minister candidate, I tell you that I talk to you as a father. If I heard that, and then my child reports to me, no, my sons-in-law, y'all know. For heaven's sake, you know. So I just say if. I'm just saying if. If one of my children were to tell me that you hit her, and I now realize that, okay, you want to be abusive, if I go to the police, or if I hit you, the magistrate will tell me the same thing. Do not take the law into your own hands, sir. Let the law take its course. Let the police act. And when I go to the police, they do the same thing. What must I do as a father? If I heard this man tell me today that he was discouraged from protecting his child from a physical abuser, and when he chose to do what was right, in the eyes of the law, she's now dead. If I hear that, and if I would have seen that, what must I do if somebody hits my child? If a man decides to abuse my child, what should I do? Wait until he shoots her too? This is where the hands of moral people, the hands of just people, the hands of law-abiding people become tied. Because a father now in our country has to negotiate within himself. What? Because it's happened on many other occasions in Guyana, where the police have failed to act. But in many instances, in many other instances, when they want some not all, the rogues, the unjust officers, when you want some money, you jump into our vehicle, head into certain depressed communities, and arrest young men. Give me some money or else. There has to be a voice or voices of righteousness in your country. Because righteousness exalts your nation. And righteousness is not preached in silence. So you cannot have righteousness so quiet about injustice. Righteousness cannot be uttered in silence. You have to say something if it's wrong, if something is wrong. You have to say the right thing when the wrong thing presents itself. I am enraged When we have men who can slap and punch and kick women in public, they don't mind who's around them anymore, and it's seen as some entertaining thing, our nation requires a recalibration, a resetting of order. And it does not come from weak people. When the church cannot, when the mosques leaders cannot, when the Hindu leaders cannot, when the atheists cannot, arise in chorus together and condemn these behaviors. When men, but I got a report. If you follow my page yourself, when I did, I said, brothers, because I know my Londoners. I know my brothers in London. So I know what to do. Brothers, there's somebody on the loose here. He shot and killed this young lady last night, and now he ran around the place with a gun in his hand. We know what to do. Within an hour, he was caught. Because we know what to do. But we shouldn't have to go through this to get things done. The police went, about 6 of them, to find him. But not one of them stood to protect that family when he was riding up and down threatening to kill the father. How do we wait for someone to be killed before the law steps in? Why should we wait for some female to be murdered before law enforcement sees the need to act? When it was inquired of the family whether the girl, she was shot, this is new to us in London. She was at a wedding reception and she was shot in her head by the father of her 3-month-old child. When we inquired, this is last night, we were there until about 6 this evening. So we inquired, did the media come here? NCN, we have a state media here. Did they come to interview you at least to find out what happened? No. You know why? Because I think Irfan or somebody is in London, and they have greater interest in covering that rather than covering the murder of a teacher in our community. Rather than covering the fact that a young man was on the loose with a gun, threatening to kill more family members of hers, they have a greater need to be present because some political or whatever else activity there is in this town. And don't jump and say it's not if I don't know who it was. The point is somebody was there to guess how something was happening. Or the bridge or wherever he was. What is it? What could be wrong with us? So wrong with us that people in our country would have grown so numb that treachery doesn't matter. In Soesdijk, some part of by Soesdijk area, a village just around there, 3 females in one house were shot and killed by a man who we saw videos. He dragged the young lady in the car long ago. She tried to run in the house. He was terrorizing this female. She begged the police for help. They did not act. And that man showed up and killed her, her mother, and sister. Then shot himself. What do you see women as in this country? Saints, righteousness exalts a nation. Therefore, the wicked, when they rule the nation, cannot experience the exalting of it, the exaltation of this nation. Those of you who follow me saw when I was standing drive from Linden, drove to the city to stand, went in my community, crying aloud, screaming to the top of my lungs that the young girl must have justice because Dharmlal, a minister at that time, was accused of raping a child. 16-year-old girl. You saw how much I stood and how much we stood and we clamored for cried aloud, spared not, didn't hold back. This administration has brought that man back to be re-elected, among others. That's how depraved we have become. Not we, but they have become. It is recorded in Scripture. I'm not saying you should do it, I'm just saying it's recorded in Scripture. When two brothers were told that his sister was abused sexually by someone, the sons of Yaakov, his name is not Jacob, said, we'll deal with you. And they went and mauled an entire town for their sister. I'm not saying you should be violent, I'm telling you what it is. You need to understand that righteous men protect women. Just know that. Righteous men protect women. We don't harm them. Righteous men protect women. Further, I say to you that righteous fathers will defend their family with their lives. Righteous fathers will defend their family even with their lives. You should never demand that a man refuse to protect his child from a dangerous person. My policy is simple. If you cross my bridge into my private space to harm my child, I will deal with you. I promise you that. Anyone, once you come off of what's called public space and you come into my private space to harm anybody, under my watch, I'll deal with you. I cannot, in good conscience, discourage a man from protecting his family. I will not, in good conscience. I would advocate, rather, for there to be laws in our land that empower us as men to protect our family. That's what I would advocate for. So you wouldn't do something so doesn't get away with it. Or you wouldn't try it because you know that there are laws in this land that empowers a man to protect his family. Where is the grief? Where is the sound of a troubled nation? Do you know what we have instead? People are partying. It's normal. There's nothing strange happen. This has become normal. When the scripture instructs you that justice exalts your land, we have people who are celebrating injustice. Saints, those of you who offer support of any sort to me, I ask of you, please, even those who may now support in reference to what this called this political endeavor, I call it political responsibility. It's not an endeavor. I beg of you, do not demand of me silence in the face of injustice. I cannot be quiet when wrong is being committed, especially against females in my country. I cannot be quiet when the well-being of our children is threatened by irresponsible, perverted adults. I would not be quiet. If you require a common politician, then I would rather not be a part of any such activity. But if you require or you desire to see people who stand for what is righteous and proper, I would be willing to serve you. But I cannot be quiet when the persons in our society are saying, and mark my word when I say it, that in our schools we should have provision made to protect children in school who are inclined to be lesbian, gay, whatever it is. Listen to me. Listen. Let me make it very clear to you. There is a line when it comes to children. There has to be a line drawn when it comes to our children. What is the interest? Why should there be an interest in a child? And any sexual behavior? Where is the church? Where are the faith-based communities? Where are the responsible adults? Where is the Minister of Education? Are we so afraid to stand for what is righteous that just anything will come past your ears and you don't talk about it? Anything will come past your eyes and you don't talk about it? Well, drop me out of the race. There's a line drawn here. I have devoted, in reference to my community service and my stance in this nation, my life to protecting children. You don't cross certain lines with me. They would not cross certain lines with me. How do we get to a place where adults can talk about a child? Child, according to law, is somebody who's younger than 18. 16, 15, 14, and in some cases he finds younger than 5 to 10. Childhood. Then you have adolescence. So it depends on what law is applied here. But how do we get to a place where a nation is silent about anybody suggesting that the sexual nature of a child is so important? What does or do our children have to do with sexual proclivity? What? Meaning what you incline to do sexually. Righteousness, which is justice, exalts a nation. We cannot be so bent on being elected that we allow anything to pass. Not me. Not me. Call me the bad guy. Tag me as the bad one, but I will die defending what is right in reference to anything in this nation. when I and others, Conan, put our lives on the line to go searching for that man who abused that child, it's because children matter to me. When I stand and would have stood in front of so many schools, fighting for them to be proper, it's because children matter to me and teachers matter to me. When service or standing for righteousness is most important to you, political ambitions are secondary. Meaning, you would not jeopardize standing for people so you could get some political advantage. No. As a father, not as a preacher, as a father, I refuse to allow anybody to threaten the well-being of children. We are not going to have that in our society. Righteousness exalts a nation. And contrary to what some of you believe, I have had conversations with homosexual people, adults, who said, no, they've said it, don't cross the line. They've said it. Children, leave children out of this. I've heard them say that. Leave children out of this. I've heard them say it. Don't do that. These children need to grow up and study schoolwork. Don't bring these children into this. I've heard them say that. We should not, as a nation, sacrifice our future and our children's well-being for the sake of gaining votes. Never do that. Never do it. Never do it. What matters to a nation is justice. That's what should matter to you as a nation. What should matter to us as a nation is justice. Righteous acts. I'm not talking about praying and fasting. I'm speaking to doing what is right and proper. Those of you in the USA and other nations, you do not adjust. You don't adjust righteous behavior to accommodate wickedness. Don't do it. Do not do that. Your nation is under moral siege, where people want to push immorality down the throats of us as citizens. Look at your immigration. That's not even law. Look at the US. Look what's happening to reference the immigration situation. Injustice after injustice is being meted out against people. The issue with that is that careful note is being taken by Yahweh. Careful note. He takes careful note of where you stand in reference to righteousness and unrighteousness. For what do you stand? With whom do you stand? Would it not be interesting? I had a conversation today walking through the community, which I'm happy that I did. And the man said he wants to see me. Because my people know me, I'm in London. He said to me, can you imagine, sir? Can you imagine that Friday a preacher? That's what he said, a preacher. He said that even God will support the PPP. A preacher. And that man, you could see that he was disappointed. He was enraged. He said he lucky that God didn't strike, he dead. He of course didn't say Yahweh, but I understood what he was saying. In the name of political opportunities, you would compromise your righteous stance? Let me share something with you. The culture of Guyana, the culture of our nation, every nation has an underpinning of cultures. There's certain things that are just embedded in you. The culture of this land is not immorality. How do you know that? How do you determine that? Through these. Which is why individuals are so troubled with the current state of our nation. Because the culture, I'm not talking spiritual culture, I'm talking culture in general. We are not naturally an immoral people. So when we see certain behaviors, normal Guyanese would look at it as, oh, that's strange. There is a generation that may want to appear as though they celebrate it. But they also have to do that by defending something, which is they try to argue the best way to make it sound right. And then when you have a quiet conversation with them, they know it's wrong. Because our culture is not to be immoral. You know that your nation is in trouble. When leaders who are supposed to cry aloud become supporters of those who have a nation crying because of injustice. We should never support anyone who celebrates, condones, or covers up injustice. Abusing our females is not entertaining. Disrespecting our females is not entertaining. Young men, let me speak to you before I leave. Young women also, let me talk to you before I leave. Zoom in if you can, because you don't want to miss this as I talk to you. First lesson in life. As a female, never seek to repair a broken man. You cannot. I wish I could put this phone way in my face and talk to you. I don't pass the mail now. Let's type quickly. Type this from me. Never seek to repair a broken man. You cannot. If you encounter a young man who's broken, leave him alone. Leave him alone. You can never repair a broken man as a woman. First lesson. A man who hates himself, hates his father. If his father is good and he hates him because his father corrected him, leave that young man alone. Never seek to repair a broken man. You cannot. Leave him alone. Next. Next. If you are clear on your future as a female, if you're clear on the path that you want to take, you have a plan, you're working towards something, you intend to study whatever it is you want to do, you want to do a business, whatever. If you are clear on your future, you cannot carry a man who goes in the opposite direction. Once you know where you're headed, you should never try to carry a man anywhere in the first place. Worse, in the opposite, who's going in the opposite direction. In essence, and this may sound strange to some of you as ladies, but you'll understand me in the by and by. Always date above your ambition. It's the safest thing to do. Always date above your ambition. In other words, if you want to start a business, date a man who can invest in it, not who can take from it. He may not have money to do so. He can invest his time, he can invest his wisdom, he can invest his skill to build your whatever it is. If you want to be a doctor, you have the desire to do so, date a fellow who can read, who can help you to research. Always date above your ambition. Always. The day you date a man who's beneath what you aspire to be, he can never help you to get there. Because he sees no value in what you desire to do. He sees no value in what you desire to be. He'll become discouraged when you try to advance what you desire to be. Instead of pushing you to do it. Instead of helping you to get it done. He will become discouraged because you spend less time with me. You don't love me anymore. Why are you always on this? Why you always have to be studying? Why you have to go to the library now? Why you have to do that? Why you have to spend money on this? And he will always seek to discourage you because he's not mentally prepared to go there with you. Actually ahead of you. Next. Next. A good father and a good mother. Type this. A good father. A good father and a good mother will always choose a good person for you. Now some of you have to swallow 50 times before you accept what I said to you, but I don't mind. A good father and a good mother will always choose a good person for you. Your life is in danger when you do not value what your father, especially your father, does. Let me tell you where the problem comes to most of you young ladies. You trust your father to protect you from a dangerous man, but you don't trust him to protect you from that dangerous man. And I think you get the point. Even my daughters, I would teach that. You would trust me to protect you from a dangerous person, but can you trust me to protect you from a dangerous person? In other words, before he even gets in your space, do you trust me to keep him from you? Or you from him? Do you trust me to do that? Can you trust if I tell you that you shouldn't be with this person? Do you trust me to protect you? Finally, young lady, when a man loves you, he will love protecting you. Caring for you and valuing you. When a man loves you, he will love to protect you, care for you, and value you. He would never neglect those three. Young man, young men, to you I speak. If ever your thought is to harm a woman who doesn't need you, if ever your thought is to harm a woman who does not need you, it's a sign that you hate yourself and her. Because love will never make you do that. If ever your thought process is that you have to harm somebody who doesn't need you, you hate yourself and you hate the person. Because love doesn't destroy. Who is directed towards. It wouldn't do that. Secondly, a woman whom you love must always be free to leave. This is the most difficult thing for young men to understand, because you don't even understand what love is. The woman you love would always be free to leave. Always. I know that they teach you something which is unhealthy in any society. You do not fight for whom you love. Never do it. You never fight to keep whom you love. You fight to protect whom you love. You don't fight to keep them. You don't fight for marriage. You don't fight to get anybody. It is a very unhealthy thing to teach people. That when you love her, you'll fight for her. No, you wouldn't do that. You wouldn't fight to keep her. You'll fight to protect her. But when you love someone, they're always free to go. Always. Always. Now this may hurt some of you young men, but I would not lie to you. I wouldn't. Your fear of losing a good woman is always born out of your understanding that you are a failure and that no other woman would be likely to receive you. That's your fear. Your fear of losing a good woman is always born out of your understanding that you are a failure. That's the truth. And that's the truth that you hate. There's no man who sees himself as successful who'd be afraid of losing anybody. Every young man or male to whom I would have spoken who is afraid of losing their woman, they know they're failures and they say it. They know it. They will tell you, I know that I did this. I know I should not have done that. I know I was wrong when I did this. They tell you because they know it. They know it. You are afraid to lose her because you've already lost yourself. Young men, older men, let me tell you something. When you have the right mind, this here, when you have the right mind about who you are, and there's a conference I belong to the end actually. Maybe you should show up in Riverton, in Crabwood Creek. We have a conference on the 1st to the 3rd of August. Apostolic Reforming Conference. You need to be there. Apostolic Reforming Movement, ARM Conference. From August 1st through the 3rd. I'll be right there preaching for 3 days, 3 nights. We'll have discussions of this nature during the day because we need to have conversations with you. And the theme of the conference is When Saints Know Their God. Why am I saying that to you? Young men, I have sat with many of you in counseling sessions, generally before you get married. you were supposed to, you should, I'd advise, have wise counsel. Let me talk to you. I have sat with many. You say many a man, not many a man. Many a singular man. Many a man. And in my conversations with them, here's what happens. All of them. I normally ask about their father. Many young men have said to me, most of them, that they do not want to be like their father. And I would say, okay, well, you would know the person, so you should know what you don't want to be like. Here's my other question. So who are you? If you ask most young men, you ladies here, you see all here, you date people, even some of you ask your husband that tonight, who are you? He cannot answer. Fathers in this modern age fail to define their sons. You fail to do it because you have never defined yourself. You've never been defined by a father. So you don't even know what to tell your son in reference to whom he is. You don't know that. You do not, because you never heard it. You see, I'm fortunate that my father taught me. My grandfather taught me that I was never born to follow. I learned that based on the lesson they taught me. I was born to lead. I wasn't born to follow. So when I get into trouble, I could never say somebody made me do anything. Because I was born to lead. I wasn't born to follow anybody. I was defined as a leader. My father defined me as a courageous person. He never called me a fearful individual. He taught me to be, I was defined. His words framed my character. And it was not about fear. The other thing my father defined me as is one who should never define himself by failure. I'm thankful. I will die being grateful to my father for teaching me that what I have failed to do does not determine who I am. He defined me as intelligent, courageous, born to lead. Somebody's asking a question, I'll answer. Joyson is asking, Apostle, what about generational curses? No. A saint can never be cursed by a generation. Actually, Yahweh wrote it through the prophet Ezekiel. He said, listen, it used to be said that the father eats sour grapes and the children see the teeth that set in it. He said, not anymore though. Now you will have to pay for yourself. So there's nothing like a generational curse. What you have are generational habits. If a child grows up seeing as a child, because children can see before they can speak. Always remember that. A child can see before he can talk. She can hear before she can speak. So a child may be in infancy, but they notice there's a brown bottle on the table. There's leaf on the table of a certain kind. He's smoking, he's drinking. There's music being played. That's a generational message. That child has been fashioned to think that this is normal behavior. They may hear somebody cussing each other all the time and throwing things at each other. Oh, okay, this is normal. Because parents or a child's environment create what is normal for them. So when a young man is undefined, he doesn't know who he is. He then becomes what is necessary to function in whatever situation. That's why you find some young men and older men, they are able to become anything in any situation. It's not intelligence. It's actually a form of survival. So, in other words, you get a political example. I'm a Democrat today. I'm a Democrat because it's the way to survive. Next election, oh, I am a Republican because he learns to survive in any situation. Then I'm apolitical. He can shift. You call it character shifting. That is not intelligence. It's survival. The problem people have with me is that I don't shift anything. I am me. An apostle of the Lord Yeshua, one who understands who I am, so you're not going to make me adjust who I am to accommodate anything about. No. Anything about, oh, if you don't become this, then you would lose. I do not do that. If you ask a young man, ask him, you sit beside your husband and man tonight, you ask him, who are you? I bet he'll tell you his name. I promise you he's going to call his name. I am, and he'll mention his name. Because that young man was defined by the sound he heard to give him identity. So it's Errol, or Mark, Andrew, Thomas. He's been hearing this all the time. So he says, I am this sound that has come to me. No, that's not who you are. That's what you're called. Who are you? Because your woman doesn't marry your name. She marries the who you really are. A woman doesn't love you because of your name. She loves you because of who you are. Do you know how many tragedies we face where someone has a name that means love, but they're most hateful? Huh? Your name means honorable, but you're dishonorable. Your name means courageous, but you're a fright and a wimp. Physically harming a woman because she doesn't want you is not a sign of intelligence. You could have all the degrees in the world. It's a very stupid thing to do. But the question is, what did she allow you to train yourself to become? That's the problem. When they sit and they allow you to behave in a certain manner, and then you say, we will talk it over, they have allowed you, young man, to become something. Question from Diana. In the instance where the father is not around, can a woman teach boys who they are? If so, how can she? No, she cannot. She cannot teach them who they are. She can utilize, if possible, echoing. Echoing is important, meaning the elders do this. The elders of Israel would have done it. The elders of Africa would have done this. Many cultures have the elders who do that. Where, for example, I'm speaking to you as an elder of the Church of Yeshua. So because of what I say, you echo that to the son. And in this society where there's technology, you should allow, or that mother should allow sons to hear the voice of a man they honor. Because how does this definition work? When my father demonstrated to me that I'm a leader, he was one. When my father defined me as a courageous person, he has been that. When my father defined me as intelligent, he demonstrated it. So my character was formed by what I saw. I became what I saw because I heard him say that this is who you are. And that's what I saw. My grandfather, Walter London, defined me as a man who learned things, who is intelligent enough to know. And it may sound strange to y'all that bad experiences are not good. And it sounds simple, but it taught me a very valuable lesson. My grandfather was not a preacher. I call him my father. Banks wasn't a preacher, as he's known to be. But he taught me some lessons that I never forget. My grandfather never once told me that I shouldn't drink alcohol. Never once. Never once has he said that. Never did he say that as a boy. You know what he did? He poured raw alcohol, brandy, in a glass, told me, come here. I was a little child, maybe 4 years old, 5 years old. I forgot most of my childhood except those things. And he said, come. And as much as Daddy was startled, he gave me to drink. And from the time it touched my lips and I swallowed it, I almost died. It burned like fire. And he said to me, you want it? I said, no. I never drank. Same thing with cigarette. He said, come here. But I was coughing my throat out. He said, do you want it? No, I don't want it. I learned from my grandfather that bad things are never good. So the shocking experiences I got from him, I didn't want to deal with it. He defined me as an independent male. This is important for you all to hear me, please. My grandfather defined me as an independent male from a boy, little boy. My pants were torn and I was calling for my mother. I'll never forget that. And he said, come here. Why are you calling for your mother? Come. He put me on the old pedal machine. We had to have one foot in front and back. With the wheel, you had to now turn the wheel. He said, sit here. Put your pants down. This is the clamp for the machine. This is how you thread the needle. This is the wheel. That's the pedal. Pull your pants straight. Balance it. Flip the leaf, the arm down. Clamp the pants. And he taught me. While teaching me that, he was saying to me, you must never depend on a woman to do anything for you. I had to learn to do everything. I had to learn to cook. And he said, and my grandfather, Walter, taught me these things. Walter London, he said to me, if ever you don't know to do anything for yourself, a woman, when she's mad, she won't do it for you. And never forget that. I will never forget it. My grandfather taught me. I was cooking at 8. Pastor Melizé, she taught me to cook because he made me learn. I was cooking as an 8-year-old boy. I couldn't even see the pot properly, and I could cook. I could make bread, I could make roti, I could make anything because he taught me. He said, if you don't know how to do it for yourself, when your woman gets mad, she wouldn't do it for you. The reason why I am what I am and who I am is because men in my life defined who I am. I didn't have a chance to form a character on my own. They made me who I am. So you'd never hear me saying I don't want to be like my father. I don't want to be like my grandfather. Because they made me who I am. Instead, I would tell you that I aspire to be like my father. And that's another lesson for you sons to hear and learn. Until I die, I will aspire to be. Hear me. Because I will never become. Respect is maintained when a son always sees himself below a good father. Some of you will never get that because you won't hear what I'm saying to you. It doesn't matter what I become. I will always see myself as being a step lower than my father. That's how I'll always respect him. I'll never be above him. I'll never attain anything that makes him better than he is. I'll never attain any position in life that makes him better than he is. I will always see myself as being below my father. Because wherever I go in life, I would have gotten there because of a man who's above me. I will never disrespect him. And the all young ones need to learn that. I can never disrespect him because what I see him to be is one who's always above me in terms of authority, in terms of wisdom, in terms of defining who I am. So with every step when he calls me, and he says, I'm impressed with that, I like that, you spoke well, you represented that well, you sound good. That's my coach, my mentor, the man who defines who I am. I can never be greater than he is. With that said, I say thank you. I say shalom to the saints. And remember that from the 1st of August, we have a major engagement, a fellowship of saints, in person, in Guyana. Some of you are coming from the US. I'm so grateful that you're coming here. Some from other parts of the Caribbean, I think you'll be here as well. All across Guyana, we are going to be in one place. We sleep there. We have various facilities where we'll be staying at. Please reach out if you want to attend the Apostolic Reforming Conference, Reforming Movement Conference in Berbice, Upper Quarantine. Let us please be there. Let us know that you want to be there. We have almost 60 people by now from Linden. We have from Berbice, Georgetown. We need to get your numbers on the East Coast. Let us go together. Let's fellowship together. Let us encourage one another in that environment. In-person fellowship. Apostle Joshua Bissoon is our host, and the wonderful family at Yeshua Safe Ministries, they're the host for this conference. The Apostolic Reforming Movement Conference 2025. Much love. Location is in Berbice, Crabwood Creek, Yeshua Safe Ministries. What we will do, we'll keep this information out there. As I said, once you want to go, get the names, please. I'll publish the name of the organizer for Georgetown, or the logistics coordinator for this event, Apostle Wilkie. You reach out to him. He's sure you have those numbers and your name recorded, so we can arrange for transportation and so on. All right? Saints, much love. August 1st to the 3rd, I can't wait to embrace you all. Some of us haven't seen each other in a while, apart from here. I cannot wait to embrace you, tell you how much I truly appreciate and love you. All right? Much love to you all. Daddy, thank you so much. I will certainly see a message when I get off the broadcast. Much love to you all. Do well. Bye-bye.